Shooters shoot. Okay, let me give you a story. I think you'll enjoy this story because you're a nerd about this like I am. So a couple years ago, I had this kid I was training, and he could already shoot. He was like maybe third or fourth grade. He could really shoot for his age. And his mom came to me and was like, he's been struggling with his shot lately. He's not as confident and so on and so forth. And so maybe like 30 minutes, like we supposed to be training for about an hour. So maybe like 30 minutes for the session. I'm talking to him, kind of get his mind straight. It's like, hey, you want to be a shooter, right? You can shoot the ball. But there's like this hidden gem that you don't know about being shooting. It's like the lifestyle of a shooter. Like you have to be more disciplined with your training and working out. You have to be really like a jerk about the details about, okay, I have to make sure I'm doing this with my shot. Not so much to where you're fixated on the wrong thing, but intricate and fixate on the details that matter. You have to come and prepare every day. You have to have this confidence and have to have this swagger about you. It's a lifestyle of being a great shooter. So after about 30 minutes of going into it, it's like, hey, so now from now on, man, what do shooters do? He's kind of like, what? Like, nah, what do shooters do? Like, shooters shoot, right? He's like, yeah, shooters shoot. So I use that as like a guidepost to say, it's like you're driving down the lane and you kind of fall asleep and you kind of curving off the lane. So I'm like, hey, shooters shoot. And he get back focused and get back on track. Or when he's doing well, I'm like, hey, shooters shoot, right? That's what I'm talking about, man. Shooters shoot. So for
Come
me,
on.
that's kind of what that's kind of what it means of like shooters shoot. But from you, the sniper, the
Mm.
queen herself, what does shooters shoot mean to you?
Man, that just made me smile so hard that I just teared up. I'm not even joking.
Oh man.
I Shooters Shoot, I think as a brand, it's uh the word I'm looking for is I think it branches across different industries, different meanings.
Mhm.
Shooters Shoot could be something we say to anybody going after literally anything scary. It could be the flexibility of it and the way that that phrase can resonate across confidence. I think
Mhm.
is what drew me to it. It obviously like shooters shoot. Um, that's what you do is another thing I would always say to kids. Like we would say shooters shoot, and they would be like, "That's what you do. That this is what you do." And so those
Yeah.
two things are tied in together. But for me, it's something that represents the entire energy of who I am, how I carry myself as a leader, and how I teach my kids to do the same, just like you did.
Mm. Yeah, it's I knew it was layers to it because I feel like we're akin in how we see things and we talk about things. So I knew it was more than just the corny basketball thing. It's like, oh, I'm a shooting coach and I have to put shooting in there, so shooters shoot. Oh, that sounds cool enough. And no, I knew it was layers to it. So I had to hear for myself what those layers were. Um, but then also your Instagram name has the 70 on there. What's that about?
Mm. Wow, good question. I 70% or better get you the green light. If you're 70% or better, your practice percentage is no defense, then you can take whatever shot you want for me. If
Mm.
you want to tween, hezzy, whatever, like triple sidestep, if you can make that out of a round of 50, if you can make 35 of them, go ahead. Go on and do it. So that's where the 70 comes from is 70% or better gets you the green light to shoot whatever you want to shoot in games.
Mm. You know, this is funny because I literally just like probably about an hour before we started recording, I was just posting how back in the day, shooting used to be earned, but now shooting just a given. Like everybody has a green light. Like because the way the game is now, 3-point shootings matter so much. You'll see kids just coming down the court and pulling versus back in the day. If your name is not Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, Steve Kerr, Rip Hamilton, such and such, like there's 3 people on the team that are allowed to shoot. If you're not them
Mm.
3, you're driving to the goal. But nowadays, everybody has a green light, and
I
that's
think
just a
everybody's
big change.
yeah. I think everybody's forced to have the Grammy. You look at the Boston Celtics, and their success they've had with from the 3 point line. I mean, obviously Golden State, right? Like, and
Mhm.
and all the rise of analytics in the game and understanding how much more valuable this 3 point shot is when a mid range gets you one less point for about the same field goal percentage. And so
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this new wave, this new evolution of the game is demanding it of players. And I mean, shooting is the most important skill in basketball. And can nobody really do it? So, building a niche in teaching people how to shoot at a really high level was like came from that understanding of where the game is moving, and that there's not just one or two guys on the team that need to shoot
Mhm.
now. Now y'all all got to shoot. Jokic stands outside. Jokic stands outside, shoots three. Like my guy is 7 foot, built like a potato, and shooting 3-pointers because he has to. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's something I love personally for my own gain. It's like everybody's got to be able to shoot now. Here we are.
Yeah. But I think there's a mix of it too where you have to be able to shoot, and then you have to be able to actually, like, put the ball in the goal, and that's where the gap is for me. Like, just because you should shoot the ball doesn't mean you should actually shoot the ball. Like,
I
get
hear
the
you.
shot that you can shoot. That's where my frustration comes in.
I
Like,
hear
you're
you. Yeah,
seeing
I'm with
players
you.
get Steph Curry type of shots, and you're not Steph Curry.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think everybody could afford to become a shooter. Is probably how
Yeah.
I could have phrased that. But because every roster has room for one.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, but last I wanna get into, like, on the branding side for you is the logo. What is
Mm,
that about?
wow, another really good question. A lot of people don't know this. It's actually two symbols. The double O. I have it on my bracelet here. The double O is
Mhm.
actually two mathematical symbols for phi, turned sideways, and
Mm.
then they're connected there. So phi is representative of balance. Of it's the golden ratio. Is we see it in art. We see, have you that famous painting of the wave.
Mhm.
I can't think of the artist's name right now. It just left me. But that follows the mathematical representation of phi. So it's we see it in nature. If I'm looking at these plants right now, all of these plants in nature, the way the branches grow out of the main branch is at a phi angle away from one another. In
Mhm.
order to get an equal amount of sunlight, the golden ratio represents the perfect balance that everything needs for everything to live um, and survive. And so my curriculum for shooting is based on the perfect balance between mind, body, power, and accuracy. And so, if we can find the balance for each player within all of that, so you need all four things, but the balance is going to look different because all humans are different. We walk different, we talk different, we got different DNA, we move a little bit different. And so, how do we still achieve that balance of mind, body, power, and accuracy within each player? And so, that's what the logo represents. Oh
What's
God!
so funny?
I just, just your smile and nod. I don't know. It just got me. Oh man, that's
No,
that's what
because
it is.
I'm a nerd, and so when
I'm a
I hear
nerd.
people nerd out, I love that because
Hmm.
I think we're in a time where people are afraid to be nerds, and it's not as cool to be nerdy. And so when I hear people nerd out, I'm like, I love it. So, like,
I'm
I
with
love
it. I'm
hearing
so
you.
with it.
I love it. Because the whole time,
Oh,
I'm like, "What is this thing? I don't know what it is." And so now I have the opportunity to ask you, I'm like, "Oh, that took some thought." So I'm like, "Alright, okay. I
you know
feel
what's
you."
crazy too is before I even came up with this brand, um I had a friend, a really really great friend of mine named Sean. And he and I were like peas in a pod. We were bartenders together at the local Chili's in Decatur, Texas. We were roommates at one point, and we're still friends. We just we've grown up and had to be adults. And um, he and I actually got these tattoos together, this phi symbol, because we both got obsessed with this sacred geometry and how where we see phi everywhere. You can see him I could go on forever. But anyway, so we got the symbol phi tattooed on us. And so I have this phi symbol tattooed in the middle of my chest. And it didn't occur to me that was like subconsciously where my logo came from until like after the fact. And so it was like this cool, like I made the mind, body, power, accuracy, and the balance. Like I made those intentionally, but forgot that I had this whole tattooed in the middle of my chest this entire time. Like I didn't connect the two. I was just drawn to creating this for that reason. And so like I remember I was like I was living in Texas at the time, or Arizona rather, at the time when I came up with the idea for the brand. And so my roommate and I, Macy, at the time, we were going to the pool, and I changed into my swimsuit, and then I saw my tattoo, and I was like, "Oh my god, you guys, you guys!" it just worked out like. And I just read the book, The Alchemist. Have you read The Alchemist before?
Oh yeah, I've read it.
Yeah, I just read that, so I was like, it's a sign, an omen. Look at all the omens happening around me. around me. And yeah, so thank you for asking that question. I haven't thought about that in forever.
Man. Okay. So okay, I can nerd out with you. I like this. I really like
Yeah,
this. So
yeah.
so you said balance is between the body, the mind, accuracy, and what else?
Power. Mind, body,
Power.
power, and accuracy.
Mind, body, power, and accuracy. So when you're taking players through the curriculum, what do you start with?
Mm. So this might be an annoying answer, but it really just depends. Like are you meaning like if I'm working one-on-one with a player, if I'm working with an individual player, or if I'm thinking like if I'm designing for, in general?
Let's go individual play. So you have a player in front of you now. What are you starting with?
So first thing I would have a player do is just shoot in front of me. Like go ahead and warm up, do whatever you would want to do to warm up. I don't give them any cues or say anything. I just get to know them, what's your favorite color, what's your middle name, whatever. And then I say, whenever you're ready, whenever you're warm, I'm just going to catch and shoot. You're just going to catch and shoot. I'm going to rebound for you or have somebody else rebound for you so I can just watch you the whole time. And you're just going to take a handful of shots until I see, what I see. And then we'll start the workout from there. And sometimes it takes me, 15 to 20 shots before I stop them and say, okay, here's what it is. Sometimes it takes us one, and I'm like, okay, I know what we got now. So that's the process. And what do I look for first? I run a coaching community, just a small group of us, and they always ask me the same question, like, what do you start with? What do you start with? What do you start with? And I'm like, when it comes to individual players, if any coaches are listening to this and they're wondering that same thing too, the answer that I gave them that seemed to be the one that they accepted the most, because they weren't accepting the ones before, was I look at somebody shooting and there's what looks weird. What looks kind of weird? Is it their rhythm looks kind of weird, and I'm not really sure what it is yet, but the rhythm looks kind of weird, or is it the way they jump? Is it their feet positioning? Are their knees kind of doing something funny? Is their follow through going across so I kind of just look at the shot as a whole and, what looks weird. And I've gotten 10,000 reps at doing this, right? And so I can now identify exactly, for the most part, like it's very rare that I find a new thing wrong with the shot that I haven't seen before. So, when I do see a new weird thing, I'm like, ooh, like, I don't know what's wrong, but we're going to figure it out together. So whenever I identify as the thing that's weird, then I start with that. And so it looks different per individual. The most common problems I see usually have something to do with their wrist engagement early and their hands.
Mm,
Um, their sequencing and their rhythm in their body, um, and I mean, for younger kids, obviously they have chaos for hands, so we work a lot on.
mm,
And the hard part about hands is like you can only do that really by yourself. I could stand there and watch you do this over and over again, but you can only really do that by yourself. Um,
yeah.
but I would say the other one is like how they load into their hips, especially
Mm,
boys. Um, but because we coach athletes to stay on their toes, stay on your toes, stay on your toes, stay on your toes. And I'm not saying that's wrong. But when we coach young athletes, especially, they hear that and they go overboard with it.
yeah.
And so now all of their weight is like into their quads, and it looks like they're about to do one of those squats where it's like you can touch your knees to the floor and come back up. You know what are
Mm.
those called? You know what I'm talking about?
60 squats.
Yes, the sissy squat. It looks like they're like starting the motion to do those, and it's like load into your hip. Keep your heels on the floor. Actually, is what I make people do at first, so
Mm,
that they can feel loading into their hips. Those are probably some of the most common issues I correct. But as far as on an individual level, like there's no that's the template is let them shoot, watch them, see what's wrong, and then go fix it, and then give them space to breathe. Like give them one thing at a time, and it's up to you to know what the one thing is that's probably going to fix 80% of the problems. Because if you can find that core thing on the underneath, then the rest of it goes away, or a lot of it anyway. And then you give them space to just work on that one thing. Let them shoot 15, 20 reps without hearing your voice the entire time. And then if that's not working, then you can say, hey, that didn't really work, did it? You didn't make any of those shots. So let's try something else. And
yeah.
then it's cool to teach like this from a place of extreme ownership, because it takes a ton of pressure off the shooter, and shooters' confidence. I mean, players' confidence is so tied in to whether their shots are going in or not. And so I do everything I can in every session, whether it's with a tiny tot or a pro, to be like, oh, my bad.
Yep. Yep.
This was me. And then when they're getting frustrated, even communicating like it's you will be able to make shots because it's my job to help you find that. Like you are
Mm,
capable of doing this. It's my job to make sure you can. And so leave this to me. Let me experiment with these things with you, and just let your body do what it does. Um, and coaching from that framework has, yeah, I mean, allowed athletes to really kind of let go in a way, which is what you have to do to get here, to shooting at a really high level, because you have to fail so many freaking
oh
times.
yeah.
Um, something I tell my players at camp is like, I've made more shots than you guys have even missed or even taken at this point in your life. I've
Mm,
made more than you've even taken, and I let them sit with that. And it's like, bro, yeah, you can't shoot yet because you just haven't done it yet. And then they furrow their brow and they go into go to camp. We're all pumped up. It's great. Um, yeah, I went off on a tangent there, but that's what I look for first is what looks weird, and then we work backwards from there.
mm. I'm similar in that sense of how I don't really come in with like a template. It's more of just I think about it like this. It depends if we're in season, off season too. So if we're off season, I'm fine like the biggest route we can move, or like I put it like
Mm,
this. I look at how you're missing, then I figure out why we're missing. So if all your shots are short, it's like, okay, I see everything's hitting front rim when you're airballing. But what's going on? Like, what is your body doing? Like, why are you
mm,
missing it? Your body's doing this thing. So then I
mm,
pinpoint what your body's doing. Are you just not using your legs enough, which I kind of hate? We can talk about that later. But are you just not putting enough power into it? Are you just shooting it straight? Like, what's the issue? Like, why are you missing? So then I
mm,
kind of fix it from there. But then if it's a big issue, like is we gonna take a lot of reps to fix it? Okay, that's an off season thing. If it's in season, like right before season or whatever, then I kind of go, what can we do that can almost cheat the coaching system of like, I don't want to give you the nuggets, but I have to kind of shortcut it because we're in season mode, so I don't want to tweak too much. But I'll I'll hand feed you a little bit more than I usually would to get you like over this mini hump versus the big hill you usually do. Um,
So
but it's
why do
more of
you?
just what they come up with.
Let me ask you this: why are you
Mhm.
afraid to tweak a shot in season if they're already like not making shots?
Sometimes they are making shots, so it's more of
Ah,
like
ah,
if you're a decent enough shooter now, I don't want to change too
I
much
feel
to
that.
where
Yeah,
confidence drop because the form and everything is like,
right,
okay, let's
right.
just wait till off season to do that. So if you
Yeah,
can't shoot, then it's like, all right, whatever. Like it doesn't matter
yeah.
this
Then
much.
he ain't got nothing to lose. Like, let's figure it out. Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, so it's really just more of figuring out the biggest rock we can move. So now we can move on to the rest of the rocks. And
Mm,
I like what you said about how you basically don't overcoach the athlete. You give them space to kind of do their thing. And I think we kind of like put that burden on us because we don't want to look like a bad trainer or a bad coach. But I'm like, the thing I realized for me when I was younger, I already have a dialogue going on in my head by myself. So I don't need the trainer coming into and the dad coming into and all these other voices because I already have stuff going on by myself. And it's
right.
kind of up to me to kind of figure out if that conversation is going right or if it's going wrong. That's where going back to what I
Yeah.
said before about the shooter shoot thing is to get you back on track to where, hey, I see you getting frustrated and shots are getting worse. Let's get
Mm,
back on track now. That's when I interrupt. I want to interrupt if things are going bad and it's really
yeah.
going bad
Right.
versus I want to overcoach you and overtrain. Like, no, I already told you what to do. It's just you figuring out what that comes out as for you. So I
Right.
love how you don't want to overcoach your players because I think we do that too much sometimes. We just overcoach them and overanalyze and got them overthinking now. So now they're bricking not because they can't shoot, because they're analyzing too much to do versus like you said, give them that one thing. So I like how you doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I think the best coaches I've ever had, especially when it comes to technical skill, um, is what like skill adaptation and feeling your body. Like the brain body connection can't happen while they're hearing our voice. Like
Mhm.
so like in order for them to adapt a skill, like they have to have the room for it. The best coaches I've had have said very little during those times as far the coaches of skills, right? Coaching, I think a team might be a little bit different, but
Mhm.
I don't coach teams, so I don't really know.
But yeah, I think it's a different marriage you have when you're a coach versus a trainer. So
Mm,
I try to be mindful to not like I talk trash with and stuff and just have little stuff here
yeah,
and there. But as far as being an actual trainer and coaching technique or whatever, I try to do the little amount of talking. I give analogies or whatever so they can understand it clicks. And like, okay, you understand it? Cool. Now go show me. And then just
bet,
have fun and go that route. So
yeah.
uh, I'm glad. I'm doing something right now. I feel good about my life. But
Man, yeah, that sounds like you're a great coach. What do you mean? Yeah, and it's that overcoaching thing. We've I think it's something you always have to grow out of. You have to realize like shit. All right, I've just
yeah.
given them 17 different things to think about. Like maybe I should not do that. It comes with reps, just like anything else. But that's the most common thing I correct in coaches who come through my certification programs is like, bro, stop talking.
Hmm.
Just stop talking so much. Like, and I not because you're not saying good things, but you're just saying too many of them. Um,
Hmm.
and that's been profound in a lot of the improvement we've seen in the coaching community and in their kids.
Yeah. But did you get the one thing from that book? Have you read that book before?
The book called The One Thing.
Yeah.
No, I actually haven't. I didn't know there was a book called The One Thing. It sounds like I'd really like it though.
Yeah, it's crazy because that's basically what it talks about how you prioritize like the most important thing to do. And
Mm,
basically it has a sentence that it says of like if what's the one thing I can focus on that by doing it, completing something like that will make all else things easier.
mm,
And I'm like, okay,
preach.
so kind of it's kind of what you go along with your shooting of like, okay, what's the one thing this session that we can focus on and get better at that by completing this will make the rest of my shooting easier.
Yeah, totally, totally. That's cool. I'll have to pick that one up. Um, we love universal truths, and when they pop out in regular conversation, you know, we love that.
It's the omen that you were looking for earlier. It's another
Come
one.
on, they're everywhere. Honestly, look at them. You know.
All right. Um, Going back to your balance equation, right?
Mhm.
So let's go with accuracy. Let's tackle that one.
Okay.
How would you define an accurate shooter?
Um, if they're missing, then they're missing in the same way every time they can be accurate. Or if they're making shots and they're making them in the same way every time, then they're accurate. That doesn't necessarily mean like accuracy. It's funny. There's a difference in psychology in my bachelor's degree. There's like it was accuracy and validity. Um, I think it was. Or I hope I'm not butchering that, but it's like something can be accurate but not valid. So you can be shooting it the same way every single time and hitting the rim the same way every single time, but it's not going in. So it's not like actually getting the result that we want.
Mhm.
And so that's where the balance part of it comes in. But obviously, an accurate shooter is are you missing front of the rim or back of the rim? Like, are you shooting the ball in a straight line over and over and over
Mhm.
again? Then we can say you're pretty accurate. If Because anytime I see kids miss off the front or the back of the rim, I'm like, we can live with that. Like, we love those.
Yeah.
We love, I love that you just missed that way. And
Mhm.
if they're, missing right, left, front, back, side of the backboard, top of the backboard, like maybe we should take things a little slower, scoot up, um, see what's going on here, because something's not right. And so, yeah, accuracy would be, put simply, can you shoot it in a straight line over and over and over again?
Mm. I think that's one of the small wins I get players on, especially younger players, when we're changing shots and working on shots, is because they get too fixated on makes and misses. And I'm like,
Mm,
hey, first off, can we just get it straight? Can we hit the front or back of the rim? Or can we have consistency in your shot? And they get a little bit more at ease because they're like, okay, we're not worried about makes and misses. I just want to get marginally closer.
mm,
And the analogy I give is like when you're playing darts and like shooting bows and arrows. It's like you get points for hitting the board, but you also get points for accuracy. Like you have to be strategic in where you're hitting. And so
mm,
you get too caught up on hitting bullseye every time. It's not the goal every time. The goal is for you to just actually be more accurate with your shot. So when you're
mm,
missing, are you missing front and back? And we're good. If everything's left and right and you hit the backboard the next shot and it's airball, like, hey, let's figure something out, like you said. But if
right,
we're more accurate in our shot and if we're missing everything consistently left, I'll take that too because we have the same problem. Now we can fix that problem and get things back center in line. So
right.
I think we think align as far as what accuracy is with shooting. It's just um, a lot of times we get too caught up on makes and misses. I think it's just being more marginally correct than we were before.
Yeah, and a lot of if a kid has accuracy problems, you're going to know it right away. And I usually take them off the basket whenever we're messing
Mhm.
with their body. I'll have them shoot on a line. Can you just shoot the ball in a straight line? Have it land on this line in front of you. And we gamify accuracy, especially a lot. In that a lack of accuracy usually is coming somewhere in the body, right? And so again, you figure out what that one thing is in the body, and then I like to take my athletes off the rim first. So I'll have them do line drops. My pro Emma Cannon, for example, when she first came to me, uh, she was missing her shots short, so she was accurate, but she was short, and so we took her off the basket to make an adjustment first. So whether it's accuracy or something else, as you said, like the misses and makes are usually what cloud our ability to shape them into more accurate shooters or to making more
Mhm.
shots. And so by removing that as a feedback mechanism, putting them on a line and saying, okay, and so the reason Emma was shooting short is because she had a teeny tiny little hitch in her shot. She called it a 2K, like a glitch. She called it a glitch in her shot. And I was like, okay, we're just gonna put you on this line. Every time you shoot smooth with no stops, I'm going to give you a point no matter what. Every time you shoot
Mhm.
smooth with no stops and you hit it on the line, you get 2 points. We're going to go 3 sets of 30. So all she's doing is feeling for that one part of her shot, and behaviors that get rewarded get repeated. It's bananas how effective
Mhm.
that is for shaping behaviors. It's just that little reward of a point, an imaginary point that means nothing. And
Mhm.
so that has worked astoundingly well removing the feedback from the rim, and then just giving rewards for the biomechanical changes that we want to see can happen, I mean, in days. Like, you can really help someone transform in days. Now it's up to them to keep that transformation, to keep thinking through it, to understand the one thing and all of that. But you know, when it comes to helping shooters become more accurate, usually you take them off the rim and make accuracy easier for them.
I like that. I'm probably gonna steal that one, just so you know.
Please
Yeah,
steal like an artist.
true. So let's go to power now. So, like you said with your player, it was accurate, but things were short. So now you have to address a power issue. So now, how do we address power in a shot?
Usually, the problem with power is just that there's either slowing down or stopping their momentum at some point. And so, Rob Fodor, who's a shooting coach for the Miami Heat, he has one thing that he says that because you want to simplify something that's a simpler line is going to be more, right? Something that doesn't stop and start or slow down is going to have the most power output in momentum. So he says this thing, pass it to the basket. Like, that's the simplest way he explains shooting, just pass it to the basket. And so, I'll give different cues like that. But when we're teaching power in shooters, I let them just shoot from far. And I give them the tools, leading up to it. I teach them how to transfer energy without stopping and starting, right? So we get there first. Then we have them experiment with their body rotation a little bit. And then we have them back up and do the same thing. And then we have back up further and do the same thing. And so the kinds of shots we'll take when we're working on power, they're not going to look anything like your actual jumper. They're just like lunges and hurdle work doesn't look like your actual running core, right? But it helps you get into these positions and feel these movements in your body that are going to help you achieve the goal of shooting power. And so that's how we train power into athletes is we layer it in. And then after they feel, oh my gosh, or they, we see these little kids hit their first 3-pointers at my camps all the time, these little girls especially, and they make it, and then they always do this. They always go, and they just have this light up in their eyes. Oh, and that's like a confidence thing, right? They go home, they tell their mom, I hit a 3 today, and they come back and so that's what power can give athletes, and coaches are so touchy with this, and I understand why, because kids want to go into the gym and just shoot threes all the time, right? And that's objectively not going to work. And so it's like, can we give them the freedom to still experiment with shooting the ball powerfully while still continuing to give them, like, but when you walk into the gym, this is not what you're supposed to do first. If you can't shoot 70% or better from this, then you don't have the green light from me. And so on and so forth. So that's how we move through. That's how we move through power is in layers and in giving them some freedom to move their bodies.
So when I hear most coaches or trainers talk about getting a more powerful shot, they automatically go to use your legs. And there is truth in that, but their connotation of what they mean by that usually translates to jump higher. And I dislike that because it's not true for everybody. And so for you, what does power kind of come from, I guess you could say?
Yeah.
Like a more powerful shot.
When coaches say use more legs, or parents, use your legs, that it means one of two things, I think. Yes, jump higher or go lower, like use more of your legs, right? Which, in neither of those things really give the cue of put more force into the. If you want more power, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. We teach shooting through laws of physics, through laws of gravity. Newton's third law is every action is an equal and opposite reaction. The more force I can put into the ground, the more force will go through the ball. Now it's up to me to know, how do I move the ball at the same speed relative to the floor so that I don't stop any of that momentum? How do I order my body in a way that's going to get my max power output from what I have? And that there's stability in arms and core and all of that can go into it too. But what I tell my athletes is that you're going to hear coaches and parents say, use your legs. And what I want you to hear instead is dig your big toes in, jump harder, put more force into the floor, just like you would, try to do a vert test. You're jumping as hard as you can. So you don't have to jump as high as you can, but you do have to jump as hard as you can, and let it fly from there and move while same speed. And so that's what I would say coaches could do better at in that language is not necessarily saying use more legs, but dig your big toes in or put more force into the ground is going to get us a response from the athlete that I think we're actually looking for.
Yeah, I think we sometimes get too caught up on that first level, maybe even second level of coaching and giving cues. And we're aware of what the issue is, but we get a little lazy in the language we're using. So you just say, use your legs, or you just say, make shots. And it's like, you think I'm not trying to make
Just
shots?
stop missing. Just stop missing shots.
Stop missing. Like, that's the funniest one is when parents are, stop missing, stop turning over, ball, stop doing this, make the shot. And it's like,
No.
didn't think about that one. I that's
I was
the idea I
actually
didn't come up with.
intentionally missing here. You're right. I'm gonna make some instead. Make some instead. Duh.
Man, coach of the year right there. We're all missing it, and
Easy.
but that's the ones I love the most because it's like they're not trying. If it was a lack of effort and they're just doing crazy, then I could understand using that cue. But I think we just get a little lazy with our language, what we use, and players get cheated out of because they're just doing their best of what they know and what they can do. So it's up to us to have better language, understand what are we trying, like what is the goal we're looking for, and what are the words to get them there. So saying use your legs, it's close, but what does that actually mean to each player and each shooter? I think we have to do a better job of that. And that's why I enjoy seeing what you do because you do take that third level, sometimes fourth level of teaching and giving cues to say, hey, when you hear this, do this. Because use your legs is cool, but you don't fully know what that means. So this is what I want you to do. Put more force into the ground through your big toe. So that's where your teaching comes in. I'm like, another one I'm taking. I like it.
Well, I mean, I think it's, to be fair, coaches have a lot to do and to teach. And so all I do is think about shooting. Right. And so these little nuggets or these things I come up with, it's because this is all I think about, and I don't think about offense and defense and press break and sideline out of bounds, baseline out of bounds, and what our defensive schematics are and what are, all of those things. I just think about shooting. And so, yeah, coming up with those cues is amazing. And I'm like so honored and flattered and surprised like that, I'll get love from coaches like you that I've ever met who is, saying, no, I stole that. I used that. Like, that's the greatest honor you could give to somebody who has dedicated their life to being a teacher. So, yeah, that language piece is important. And I think I take great care in it. So, thank you for saying it.
Man, thank you for sharing because you helping me and my players out. So, hey, it's just basketball family. We all here to help each other out. Yeah, so let's go on to the body now. When you're addressing the body, what does that mean? Because we kind of touch power and accuracy, which comes from the body. So what does that mean in your curriculum of what you're dealing with?
Right. So whenever I explain the curriculum, I always say it in the same word: mind, body, power, and accuracy. But we actually, it's funny that you asked it in this order because we actually move through it backwards. So you have to conquer accuracy before you can get to power. You can't shoot because you can shoot really powerfully, but if you're not accurate, it doesn't matter. And so we conquer accuracy first, and then we can back you up. And once we have accuracy and power, Now we can get into advanced movements. We can get into strengths. We can get into shooting off the move. We can get into some of your bag and your ISO moves. We can get into your conditioning that really needs to happen to be an elite shooter. Shooters don't get tired. We don't. We can shoot whenever, wherever. We can play 40 minutes a game. Like that's the shooter's chip on their shoulder, scorer's chip on their shoulder. It's like, don't take me out the game. I'm not tired. And so we can't really get like, we could make somebody really, really conditioned, right? But if they're not powerful and accurate before that, then how conditioned they are might help a little bit, but it's not really going to matter. And so can we layer the body stuff, strength, explosiveness, all of that into a shooter once they already have their foundations of what does this actually mean to shoot? Do I understand my body movements before trying to add advanced concepts to them?
It's kind of interesting coming from it makes sense, but it's interesting because you don't post a lot of strength conditioning stuff or a lot of cardio type of drills.
No,
So
because
how do
most
you
people can't shoot.
incorporate it for you?
I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying how do you add that into what you're doing in your training because you don't post a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, one, I'm not an expert in that field. I usually send somebody to somebody like Mike G, who's a good friend of mine who has his GVG Hoops app. That's not my lane. How do I incorporate that into workouts when I'm working out with an elite player? We usually do shot series instead of variable practice where the shots, the demand on the body is usually a little bit easier because I can't put high demand on your body if you're not a good shooter already. I need to put a high demand on your brain body connection, on those sorts of things, on adapting your skill first. But once you've adapted the skill, we're making it harder and you're freaking good, then we add in, again, advanced movements and stuff that's going to take a higher level of strength, cardio, whatever. I don't necessarily feel qualified to necessarily put them in the weight room and get them to move their body different. But I can send them resources to do that and say, this is your responsibility as you're becoming a better shooter. Now you get to do some of these movements and build your strength and build your endurance and build all of these. And here are the people I want you to build with.
I think that's a great piece because we get too caught up on the skill, and sometimes it's not a skill deficiency, it's a body deficiency. So I had a guy who you talked about earlier about basically having the wrist loaded into your shot, basically off a catch and shoot. And when he was shooting, a lot of times he had basically like a flat wrist, almost.
Yeah.
And when he did come back, it was here. And so I'm looking at his shot like, why is his shot flat? And so I'm thinking through like, okay, what is he doing? What's going on? Like basically I said earlier, why is he missing? And I looked at his wrist. I'm like, oh, you can't load your wrist like you need to. And so it's not a skill deficiency. It's not he's trying to do it this way. He physically cannot do this with his shot. So the physical piece is just as important, whether it's the wrist mobility, shoulder, the spine, the hips, or whatever it is. All these things incorporate into being a great shooter. And one small thing is the wrist being off, not being able to load it the right way, can completely change his shot. So once you kind of got his wrist more flexible and able to go back some, completely change his shot. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is.
Wow, that was really great timing of these lights to come on. Just you started lighting that shit up. Yeah, and it's great because I'm in the chapter of learning myself more about this last year and a half. Really, I've dove much deeper into biomechanics, the understanding body. Mike and I have talked about it. I've asked him questions like, what's this part of the shoulder called? And why is it such a hindrance to teach kids to go super elbow in, because it doesn't feel good. Why doesn't that feel good? And he'd walk me through, oh, that's called the acromion plate. And because that's not actually how your body, so stuff. I actually went to an applied performance conference, and this is why I don't teach a lot of that strength conditioning type stuff in my work, because that's not what I do. It's because I was at that applied performance conference and I had very little idea what was happening in all three presentations. these people were using words I've never heard before regularly and like looking at me for confirmation. Like I'm like, I don't even know what y'all just said. Something indonated. I don't even know that if that's the right word. I don't know, but it was like, I'm so serious. I think I'm a smart cookie, but not that's a different kind of smart. Like they are the strength conditioning people at the highest levels. Like I think strength conditioning people kind of get a bad rap, like there's meatheads. But those guys and girls are on a whole nother level of understanding the body and how to move it and how you're supposed to move it. And so I don't even like I'll get there maybe one day after 6, 7 years of studying it, you know, but I am nowhere qualified to be like, here's your strength and speed workout that I wrote for you. Like, I don't know, that's not my lane. So it's good to have people in your corner where where it is their lane. And then you can build them up from there.
Yeah, I think we kind of get into this age, not just in, you know, skills, coaching, or whatever, but everybody wants to kind of be a master of all.
Mm,
It's either you want to be super specific and not know anything else, or you want to try to be too generalistic and know a little bit of everything and not necessarily conquer one thing. And it's very generalistic in the terms of like, I want to be a shooting coach and I want to be a photographer and I want to have a clothing brand and I want to do architecture. And it's like, time out. Hold on. You
right,
can't do 50 things. I can
right.
understand doing 5 things under this one umbrella because that's maybe I'm biased because that's what I do. But it makes more sense to have one tree and then multiple branches of it and trying to grow 5 different trees of 5 different kinds of seeds. And you're trying to
Beautiful.
water this one way, and then you're trying to make sure this one gets this amount of sunlight because there it requires so much detail to get one tree right versus trying to get 5 trees right versus getting one tree to get one fruit and then find another tree that's very similar and you just kind of spring from there. So I respect that you're able to know your lane and stay in your lane.
Mm,
And the the next piece of that is like not having the ego to say, "Hey, go to this trainer because I don't know." Like that, I think people are scared of those 3 words to say, "I don't know." I'm like, bro, I'm
yeah,
quick to tell you, I don't know, but let me get back to you.
yeah,
I'm fine with it.
yeah. I think I think that was beautifully said. The tree analogy. And when I started, right before I started this whole brand, or like right maybe in the beginning of it, like I think I experienced something in my life that was really close to complete ego death. um,
Mm,
just a really low, dark time, that many of us have experienced as our shared human experience. And inside of that wasn't complete. Everybody still struggles with ego sometimes, but um, that I think like being able to let go of ego and doing that consciously whenever I'm feeling
mm,
some type of way. Like I even responded to my mom, just earlier. I told her I just added a software engineer, like who's a good friend of mine, to my team that's helping me build, what I'm building and all the different, things I'm working on. And I told her, I gave him this percentage, and she was just like, like, why would you, you're so generous all the time, blah blah. She was looking out for me, and that hit me in a certain way where I kind of got defensive, like, yo, you don't know, like, you don't know, you don't know. And then, right, she a couple minutes later apologized, and I was like, nah, like that wasn't about you, like that was my ego, like being scared
mm,
of maybe maybe I didn't do the right thing, and like but then that was totally about me. So I do a fairly good job of checking myself often whenever I'm feeling defensive or whenever I'm feeling like a hater, honestly. I'm like, well,
mhm,
okay, where is this coming from? Like, this is probably not about them, this
mhm,
is about me. Um and that helps me kind of be able to say, like, I don't know. Like, I'm not a strength and conditioning coach. Those people are way smarter than me. And so
mhm.
go over yonder. But they can't teach you how to shoot like I can. So, everybody's got their role. Everybody's got their lane.
Yeah. But I kinda wanna, dig into what you said about that being your low moment. Like,
Hmm.
what was going on in that period of your life for that to be your low moment? And what did that do for you to say, "Okay, my ego has to take this back seat because I can't do what I want to do if my ego's going to be right here.
Ooh. Yeah, it was, I mean, 3 really tumultuous things had happened in my life within the span of 4 or 5 months. Um,
Mm,
First was I was engaged, and one night I was completely blindsided by my ex fiance, and she came into the house and said, "I want to get my own apartment," just out of left field, and so that flipped my whole world upside down. This is the person you think you're going to spend the rest of your life with, and um, I mean, you can. I mean, when you connect you think you're going to connect your soul to somebody, and now it's just sort of it splits you a little bit, and so then I was moving through that, and then about I guess it was about 60 days later, I lost my dog, who was, I don't know if you're a dog person, but he was, I mean, that dog. Like everybody has dogs growing up and whatever, and there's a few of them, but he was like the one. Uh, Finnegan was his name, and he just out of nowhere just suddenly couldn't use his back legs and was in a ton of pain, and
mm,
it turned out it was just a freak thing. He ruptured 2 discs in his back, and the doctor, the vet, said it was just like a ticking time bomb. There was nothing we could have done. It just was terrible. And then right after that, I lost my job. It was supposed to be a 3-year gig.
mm,
I would still be working there today. In fact, it was supposed to be a 3-year gig training at a gym in Phoenix, and so then I remember that happening, and like all 3 of those things, happened. And the night that I lost my job is where ShootersXShoot was born. I had my first panic attack in that time. Thankfully I haven't had one since then. I had no idea what was happening because I'd heard people talk about, anxiety attacks, and before I just thought that just meant they were like really stressed. But no, it's like it was a real thing. Your heart
mm,
starts racing, gets up to 200. Your Apple Watch is going off, like what's going on with you, and um, you feel sort of this everything seems just so meaningless. Conversations,
mm,
washing dishes, your mom telling you about your niece. You're like, okay, it's cool.
mm,
And you can feel, or I could feel that things had less meaning. Conversations weren't as fun as they were before, and it was just dark. I'd never experienced it before. I'm grateful that I hadn't experienced it up till then in my life. But then there was a moment where I'd agreed to dog sit these 2 dogs for a friend of mine. It was a big, goofy, um, like curly, tall dog named Bear, I think, and then chocolate lab named Browns. And the people left the house, or I'd already left the house, and I walked in and I sat down and I opened my laptop, and it was like, again, this house was like unreasonably dark and like open. The dogs were there just chilling, and it's hard to put words to it, but it's like everything sort of like black holed and imploded, and I sat down, and then I stood back up, and I just looked around, and I was like, oh no, like forget this, like this ain't who we are. And I
mm,
remember I went to the gas station, and I looked crazy. Like I was wearing the basketball shorts and like a dirty shirt. My hair, was looking crazy because I was just in a dark place. I wasn't really taking great care of myself, to be honest. and I went to that gas station and I ran into this guy that I had worked out with at the gym before. I'd done a shooting workout with him, and I was like, "Hey." I bought a Red Bull, a sugar-free Red Bull, and some Cheetos, and I went back to the house with the dogs, and I sat there and I built for 4 straight days. I like hardly moved. I would go back to the gas station and buy a snack and another energy. This is not what I recommend anybody doing. It was not super healthy nutritionally. Um, but I just had this moment like where it's like your whole system just decides to shock you out of something and rage forward. And
Mm.
that's what I did. I in 4 days I built the first clothing brand site and started that whole thing. And then I started calling and talking to mentors, like how do I figure this out? Like how do I train your kids? How do I get in the gym? I'll do it for free. But this is you could buy a t-shirt, if you want to. And that's sort of that rage to go forward is how I've been on the road for today is day like 900 and something, I think, being on the road like this and just figuring it out because I know that forward is better than where I was.
Mm. I think everybody hits a certain moment where relative to that person, it's a dark moment. It's a fork in the road moment. But what for you said, okay, instead of going darker, I can't do this anymore. Let's choose this route. What in you said that, okay, I can't sit here and keep going left. I can't keep going dark. I can't just give up on what I'm doing or what I strive to do. What in you said, let's go this direction and pivot this way?
This is the audacity of self-belief. Like, I remembered who the fuck I was. And
Mm.
you only have to remember that one time and decide to believe it one time. And I think having that revelation at a low point in my life was maybe just, I don't know, part of where I needed to go. I don't think and what's crazy is I don't think anybody has to go that low to also remember who they are. I don't think you have to get there to develop the sort of audacity that you need to be great at anything. But I think I needed to experience what it would be like if I just gave up. And then there was this thing that even now I say to myself when things get hard, is I'm like, you can always go back to bartending. You can always go back to bartending. You were really good at that. I can make a lot of money as a bartender. I like people just fine. But it's not time for that yet. And so, yeah, it's just, I could always go back to bartending, but I don't want to yet. This isn't that hard yet. It's not that bad again yet. And so those are sort of the moments that are, I think, in a lot of ways inexplicable. They're just, lived experiences, and all we have is forward. All we have is right now, always. And that's what it's like owning a business too. It's like you're just like in the now. The more you can keep yourself in the now, you can look around and like remember that your past and your future aren't actually here with you right now. I've from that experience, I try to stay in like almost a constant state of meditation when I'm not like focusing my mind on something I'm doing. And obviously that doesn't always work. We're all human, but when I'm in those chapters of really making sure to stay mindful of staying present in just moving the pieces, letting myself feel what I need to feel, and then taking a breath. Like I've learned to process very quickly, which has been frustrating in some of the relationships I've tried to develop with people, because I'm like, all right, I was really sad and now I'm not sad, and let's figure it out. Like let's move forward, which is not how everybody processes, and that's totally fine. But in being a business owner, you kind of have to do that. You have to be ready to pivot and understand something's going to go wrong, and you got to figure it out as the leader of this thing that you're doing, as the person who's taking care of other people. This is your responsibility now, and so that's the sacrifice you make as a leader of anything. But that's that moment of ego death or near ego death has shaped a lot of how I can build in what I feel is an honorable way.
I think what you said was important is that you don't have to hit this low point for you to decide or realize who you are. And I think about how, and I'm still kind of filling this out, but I think there's only two real things, like two sources you could say of motivation. Like there's another one in there too that I kind of play around with, but I think the core two that most people either have is basically, I think I tweeted it another time. Let's see if I can quote myself. Is that kind of egotistical, like the quote yourself?
No. We love self-celebrations. Those are important.
All right, if I can find it. Okay, so I said motivation comes down to two things. One, strongly wanting that end result enough to go through that process, or two, strongly disliking the opposite result enough to go through the process to avoid it. So basically, you want this end goal. Like you want to go to the NBA, the WNBA, you want to become a great shooter, you want to figure out this business. And the idea of reaching that drives you so much. That's all you can think about. That's your motivation to go and reach that. Or I hate bartending so much. I hate a 9 to 5. I hate missing shots. I despise being broke. I hate this thing so much. I'm going to run away from that and go the opposite direction and reach this goal. And I think that's the core of what drives human beings. You either strive towards something, the Steph Curry route of I just love playing basketball so much that I just have fun doing this. And it's fun being good at this. It's fun being great. So I'm going to chase that. Or whatever percentage of other guys in the NBA, like, yeah, I used to come from the hood. I come from the ghetto. My mom didn't have much. My dad wasn't here. My grandma raised me because my mom was out working all the time. I don't want to be in that situation no more. So I'm going to hoop to save my life, my mom's life, my family's life, the homies from the hood life, and I'm chasing after that now. Because I'm running away from poverty to run towards this now. And I think those two core things are what motivate everybody. And at the root of what you said is like, you don't have to go down the route of I hate this so much that I want to go after that. I think we get too caught up, especially like in my culture and my people, we get too caught up on the have-nots, and we celebrate that almost. It's like, bro, you can just love what you do and be great at it. You don't have to go to the bottom to bounce back and be the next level who you can be. I think we have to celebrate that a little bit more and say, hey, I just love doing what I do. I love and have a passion for it, but I think it's another conversation. I think it's overrated.
Yeah.
But I love doing what you do, or love doing what I do enough to where I want to just chase it because I enjoy doing it. So you can hoop with a smile on your face and be like Steph Curry. It's perfectly fine. I wish you celebrate that a little bit more than just I made it from the bottom and I didn't have anything, so now I'm gonna do what I can to avoid it. So I love with how you went through that, but it wasn't like a choice thing. But you don't want to sit here and say, hey, you want to hit rock bottom to now reach the goal that you strive to have.
1,000%. 1,000%. And, in speaking on those two different pieces of motivation is, I think that they can't, both of those can be motivators. But what you're talking about, for me, it feels like it's in the middle of the two. Because you don't necessarily want that end goal to be the thing that drives you, because if an end goal is your means to an end, then what happens at the end? One of my favorite experiences that I've had on living on the road like this was I got to go to New Orleans. A friend of mine was Christy Tolliver is her name. She was coaching for the Mavs at the time, and I just happened to be between my sessions, and so I was like, I'm gonna go. Y'all are staying at the Four Seasons. Like, I'm gonna go sleep on your couch, and I'm gonna come, watch the Mavs play the Pelicans, back to back. And she was like, fine, whatever. And so I flew into New Orleans, and I got there, and we were gonna go accept the E, but she wasn't feeling well, so I was like, that's cool. I'll go down to the bar. And I sat down, and I was having a lobster roll, maybe the best lobster roll I've ever had, and just kind of enjoying myself. And across the bar from me, I look up, and have you ever seen Breaking Bad?
I've seen some of it.
Okay, it's Hank from Breaking Bad, the DEA agent, the brother, is sitting across from me at this bar, and I'm like, oh my god, like that's crazy. It's like that's Hank. And so I didn't say anything to him, but I was like, what an awesome thing. And then he gets up and he leaves, and he was talking to these two people, looked like he has a good time, gets up and he leaves. And then right after that, these two people completely decked out in Pelicans gear, they come sit right next to me, and I assume they're going to the game the next day. So I just lean over, I start a conversation, and I'm like, what do you guys, are you guys going to the game tomorrow? What are you guys up to? And they were like, yeah. Our son just got just got traded to the Pelicans. And so I'm thinking in my head, like, hey, like, I knew who just got traded to the Pelicans, but I was like, in a way. And so I just kept kind of talking to him, and they'd had a few drinks at this point. So they were, getting a little looser, and we got to talking more. I said, you must be so proud of your son, being in the NBA. That's amazing. They were like, yeah, like CJ's a good boy. I always used to just tell him all the things he did wrong, and nothing he ever did right. I was like, okay, I'm going to ignore the fact that I disagree wholeheartedly with what you just said. But this is CJ McCollum's parents. And so I'm like, oh my God, like what on earth is going on? Like, so I chopped it up with them for a little while. It was awesome. And then they left. And so I'm sitting here like, wow, this night was just so cool. And then a man comes, and he pulls out the bar stool next to me, and he sits down, and he goes, hey, I need you to save me. And I'm like, save you? What do you mean? And it was Hank from Breaking Bad. He came back, and he sat next to me, and he was like, yeah, just chilling with me. I was like, what do you mean save you? I was like, you look like you're having a really good time with these people. And he was like, no, it wasn't. I said, it must be what it's like to be a Grammy Award winning or an Emmy Award winning actor. And he was like, what gave it away? It was at the face. And I was like, yeah, Hank, it was the face. And he was like, hi, my name's Dean. Good to meet you. And so Dean and I are chopping it up. And then I text Christy. I was like, forget your stomach ache, dude. Like, I need you to come down here. Hank is here. And so then she comes downstairs. And so now I'm sitting next to Hank for Breaking Bad, and who is one of the greatest actors of all time, Emmy award-winning actors. That's got to be like less than 1% of all actors. Christy Tolliver, 2-time WNBA champion, 3-time WNBA All-Star, one of the greatest shooters of all time in the women's game. And I'm sitting in between the two of them, not saying a damn thing. I'm just leaning back, like listening to them connect with each other. These are two of the highest performers on the entire planet. And so as they were connecting, they got to this moment where they talked about the one moment, right, where they got the thing, they won the trophy. The confetti's falling, and all their family and friends are all around them, and they finally achieved this thing, and that the first thing that they felt was sadness. Like, what's next? And I remember that sitting with me in such a profound way. Like, that a lot of people ask me what my goal is. What's your goal with all this? What's your goal with ShootersXShoot? And I don't really have one. I'm in this place where it's this very purpose-driven work. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I was meant to be a teacher. It just so happens that shooting is my medium, and I'm gonna let my purpose just drive me and let the cool stuff happen, like, on the way there. And so when you talk motivation and that thing in between, like this drive that somewhere that lives in between this, like for me, like escaping that feeling. So it's not exactly escaping that feeling, but that's part of it. And then the other side of like wanting to do something great, like I don't have a pinnacle of success. Like I don't know what that looks like for me, but I'm moving towards it. But in the middle of these two like motivating factors and learning to use both of them while still staying here today, right now. And that is the mind part of shoot or shoot. You know, it's to transition smoothly into that. Learning to be here. Learning to let the body do what it does, and that like nothing in the past matters, nothing in the future matters, because the past and the future right now don't exist. That's what we teach our shooters. You know, really, we only get to the mind once you've done the work in all the other three pieces. Now you're unconsciously competent. Now we can get you to the mind work. I'm sorry, now you're consciously competent. Now we can get you to the mind work where you're unconsciously competent. And that's all wrapped into the curriculum of shoot or shoot training. It's a simple shot system.
I'm kind of jealous because I was going to segue back to it, but you kind of jumped to the spot, and I was like, gosh, she beat me
It's
to
just a
it.
wavelength thing. I should have let you have that one though. That's me.
Cause like I saw it in my brain, like you said, you hit that rock bottom, like, ooh, that's a perfect way to segue between mind and body. You talked about how you had the panic attack. I was gonna reference that about how mentally, things show up physically, and that's how things translate back to the mind game. But you beat me to it,
Come
so
on.
I can't do my segue how I wanted to.
Man.
But it's fine. I'm gonna let you have the credit. It's whatever.
I think we could share credit. You asked the question. We wouldn't have gotten there if you hadn't asked the question.
Fair. You're a team player, so
Yeah.
But now you referenced I think it's called the 4 levels of competence, I think it's called.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, let's break down those 4. So the first stage is unconscious incompetence, right?
Unconscious incompetence. Yeah.
Incompetent, yes.
Yeah. So you're too stupid to know how stupid you are.
Yes.
Okay.
And
then it's conscious incompetence. So I am just smart enough to know how stupid I am. So that's like me with the strength and conditioning. Like I'm smart enough to know I can't do that. And then it's conscious competence. So I consciously know that I'm good at this thing. But I still have to think about it to like really move through it and be great at it, but I am great at it. And then there's the next level, which is mastery, right? Unconscious competence, where you're so good at this thing that you can have space to be creative inside of this really difficult thing. Like Taylor Swift I just read an article on her where her training that she did for her Eras tour was like so insane. She would rehearse her show back to back like 28 days in a row or something crazy like that. So that because she wanted to be unconsciously competent so that she could play inside of this very difficult task that she has burdened herself, not burdened herself, but that she's taken on. And so, yeah, that's where I wanted to be as a teacher. And in running my small group sessions, like before this last summer, I was just consciously competent, I think. But just this past summer, I've felt the strongest I've ever felt as a teacher, to where like I can play inside of my teaching, inside of working with my kids. And it's been a very, very cool time for me. It's just enjoyable, right? But I get there without the hard stuff, without feeling totally embarrassed, like, wow, nobody can understand me at all. And feeling totally just silly, like when you tried to explain a concept and nobody really gets it, and you're like, you're tempted to be like, it's y'all, why don't you understand this?
yeah.
which is like my pet peeve when I hear coaches say that, like, why don't you understand this? Like, bro, what? Why haven't you taught
Yeah.
them better? Like, what do you mean? You're the teacher. They don't understand it because you didn't teach them. So yeah, that's those are the 4 levels. Where did you read that?
I don't even know where I think I heard somebody say it, and they were just talking about it and broke it down. I don't even know if I read it somewhere. I'm a nerd. Like I told, I'm a nerd, so I just picked it up somewhere along the way.
I feel it. Yeah, that's great. I remember the first time I read it several times over. I was like, that was a very simple framework for understanding like where you're at on the mastery like scale of trying to get somewhere.
Yeah, and I think pivoting back to shooting specifically. See, I got my pivot in there. I had to sneak one in there. But yeah, pivoting back to shooting, I think the mistake we make is going too heavy on the reps and just sit here and hit corner shots all day. And it's cool. It has its place. But I think we rely on that too heavy. And especially if you go to like the shooters we grew up with, about how Ray would talk about, he sit in the corner all day and just, get on the gun, or I have a couple of coaches rebound for him. I sit there all day. I just do the same thing all day. But now we've gotten to a point where we've elevated, and we have trainers and we have science and we have research behind to say, hey, that's cool. It has its place. But now let's mix things up and get a little bit more mentally stimulating with the reps, to where you're provoking yourself to, like, not even a major thought, but it's like just have some level of differentiating in your shots,
Right.
to where now we're able to get better. And so how do we get to that place where, yes, we want to have the reps and want to build up our form or build up consistency in our shot, but get to that next step where it's not redundant and we're actually still growing now? So how does that bridge look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, this is something we learned about, or I learned about it in grad school, and I'm sure you've heard the blocked practice versus variable practice is what you're speaking to, and I think block practice is great for brand new beginners, and also when you're adjusting a skill or adapting a skill. Then you want to use block practice so that there's not a ton of variability coming in shots, that they can focus just on this one thing without having to account for variability. Whereas in between those 2 stages, you very rarely want to take the same shot the same way every single time, unless it's like, your Zen session, which I think are very useful. Like once or twice a week, if you want to stand at the top of the key and just have a Zen session where you just go thoughtless, right? Because that is a form of training. Is like, can you stay present, right? Can you go into that state of flow? And what helps you get there, and you learn from that. And outside of those times that I think are very useful, then adding variability into reps has been shown to lead to higher performances, right? If we take 2 groups and compare them, then across all skills, right, adding variability to the task helps them perform higher on a post study test or a post practice test. And so, how do you balance that? Is another like sports psych word is desirable difficulty. Is, can you as the coach understand this task is too easy, that they're making too many shots? So how do you add just a wrinkle in there to make sure they stop making so many damn shots? Like, I've done that. There's a 12-year-old named Zoe that I worked with one time, and I'm like, I was giving her like pro level, I mean, like that's hard shot series to do, like stuff that some of my pros struggled through. And she was just, oh my God, just killing him. And so I told Zoe, I was like, all right, now you're going to do the exact same thing, but every other shot I need you to take off the backboard. You have to use the glass every other shot. And she was like, okay. And now her handle started getting a little looser. She missed the move a couple times, and didn't quite hit every single one. I'm like, "You're making too many shots." So it's up to me to make sure it's challenging enough to create just a few misses, a few harder things, and not too hard in the other direction where now they're discouraged. So it's finding that Goldilocks place of training.
Mm. All right. Do you want to pivot so you get better lighting real quick?
Yes. Or I can turn on the porch light. 1 second. Is that better? Is that better?
Yeah, it's a little bit better. I'm thinking about clips for you and how we're gonna clip it up. So I just wanted you to have better lighting.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with this.
All right. Yeah, I forgot where I heard it from, but it's called the zone of proximal development.
Yep, that's the Goldilocks.
And I think that's the spot to where it's this visual. Somebody posted this illustrations of visual I saw on Instagram, and it was like this 3 different rings or like circles that you go into. It's like comfort zone. And I can't remember what the second one was, but it's like right outside your comfort zone. It's like uncomfortable basically. And the zone of proximal development is basically saying you don't want to stretch too far outside your comfort zone to where you basically lose all confidence. You don't feel like you can do it, but you want to go far enough to where you're uncomfortable and you're stretching yourself to where you can grow. And I think that's kind of what you're speaking to, where you don't want to sit here and do block practice all day because that's your comfort zone. That's what you can do. You already know that you can do that. You want to make some variable practice. I couldn't think of those words for nothing when I was talking about it earlier, but we're on the same page. But yeah, you want to stick in that pocket to where the goal, like I said, Goldilocks made this, where you're a little uncomfortable, to where you're challenging yourself, but not too uncomfortable where I can't do it, so just forget it. I'm gonna go back to what I was doing before. And it's difficult to find a spot because you want to push players, but you don't want to go too far to where, man, forget you, coach, forget this session, forget this skill. I'll just do without it. It's tough to find out that sweet spot in that pocket for each player. And I think for you, you have at like a level of like emotional intelligence to tap into the player to know where that pocket is. But what did you do to develop that awareness for that player?
I've studied to a degree. A lot of it's strategy. A lot of it's knowing when to give feedback. Emotional intelligence, I think, yes, plays into it. But my emotional intelligence came from what I learned, you know, in how people behave, in behavioral psychology, in understanding that, what drives people. The psychology of happiness is something I studied at length in grad school. And so learning those sorts of things, giving the illusion of choice to your players. What do you want to work on today? We'll do this, we want to do this. They need both, right? So they're not really choosing. Like, you're still choosing for them, but giving them the illusion of choice automatically makes them feel autonomy in front of you, and so that creates something safe for them to learn inside of. Taking extreme ownership of reps, of misses, saying like, this is on me, like those sorts of things, weaving them into the way that you present as a coach, or how I learned to weave them in, just really came from studying people, like understanding what drives them people, and then from there, obviously individuals have their little wrinkles to them, and you adjust accordingly. But I think once you understand the base of what how you can help shape behavior, how you can help shape minds. I mean, I went to school for 8 years after high school to become a shooting coach, as it turned out. But that's how I weave the emotional intelligence pieces into what I do. Is I don't actually teach shooting, right? Like, shooting is just medium to what I do.
Mm. I like that. That's creative. Uh, I do want to go back to like one more thing of your brand, I guess I could say.
Yeah.
Um, on your Instagram page, it says a graceful disruptor. What is that?
I think it's it's wrapped into two different things. One is one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was people are only going to respect your voice as much as you do, and
Mm,
like that's really shaped the way that I present in professional spaces, in you know specifically in a male dominated space. Um, and so that's the first piece to it. And also, I think that one of my mission statements in my company, everybody who works for me signs off on it. We give people grace, whether they deserve it or not. That's just who we are. And the best people that I've ever known have given me grace in times where I probably didn't deserve it. And if you're going to shape people, people need grace. They need it. And so, how can you be graceful and also demand respect in these circles where you should have them? And it takes a bit of courage. Uh, and so, that's where graceful disruptor comes from, is because I, in a way, have disrupted this industry. It's people in very few corners of basketball. We're teaching things like loading the basketball, dipping the basketball when you shoot, or now I have seen other shooting coaches taking language that I'd never heard before I used it, like crushing the egg, for example. I'll have trainers make posts about this and why that could be or couldn't be, and stuff like that. So it is disrupting an industry. Some of the stuff I'm building that I think is going to completely change the way shooting education is done. We haven't been teaching shooting like this forever. And it's also inside of that, giving people grace and that are disrupted by that. The men in my comment sections, for example, when I respond to those dudes, what I always imagine is I sit back, usually, unless I'm having a bad day and I just had time that day. Usually, what I'll do is I'll sit back and I'll be like, all right, if I sat next to this dude at a bar and told him I was a shooting coach and then shared this idea with him, he would be like, oh my God, that makes total sense, right? If they got to sit with me in my energy. But because they can't do that and the internet makes everybody weird, I just picture that anyway. And I speak to them as if they were just sitting next to me, kicking it with me at this bar, because that's really what they would be like if they met me in real life anyway. And that's grace. That's understanding, people are where they are and people are going to interact and understand and interact with the world in the only way they know how. And you still give them grace anyway. And that's where, the fearlessness of saying something disruptive comes from. That's where my nonprofit was born. Changing the Game was being invited to speak at a player development conference, and they asked me to speak on the women's experience in coaching. And so I got there and I told them the women's experience in coaching is being asked to speak at a player development conference about what it's like to be a woman and not my expertise. And Truth with Love is, if you want to empower women's voices, ask us about basketball. That's disruptive. It was disruptive for the organizers of that conference, but I still was gracious in the delivery of it. And so that's what that means. And that's, I think if you're not ruffling some feathers, you're probably not innovating either.
Remember when I told you earlier that this could take a lot of turns? Yeah. I'm not going to do it.
We can have a part two.
Oh man, because you just opened up like three different branches I wanted to go down, but we're not gonna do it. We're going to be disciplined. That's what shooters are, disciplined and they are focused. So we are going to be disciplined and focused and do what we aim to do. Okay. So, um, that's funny. But yeah, so I think part of your graceful disruption is what you have coming out pretty soon. Like you have a lot of things going on, but the newest one that you have that you're introducing to the world, your new shooting app. Talk to me about it.
Man, ShootersXShoot training app. You can search it in the Apple App Store. If you're on an Android, for some reason you can't. You have to get the link from me personally. BeBall Jones here, and I it's the greatest thing I've ever built. It's the greatest. It's the greatest thing I've ever built. It's all of these experiences that we've been talking about in the last 90 minutes wrapped into like sitting with an idea for until it was clear. Like the thing the analogy I heard that made me want to sit with it was do you know the Rent, the like the movie play production Rent. So it's a really popular like really well known production musical type situation. Uh, and the man who wrote Rent wrote it for 9 years and held on to it and changed it for 9 years before he released it. And it's one of the greatest productions of all time. Um, and so I remember reading that at a time where, like, I'd always known from the bottom line that I wanted to make an app, but I had people tell me like people don't really use apps, and so I was like, well, I don't really want to create something that people aren't going to use. And then it was true. Like there were some apps that I would use every day, like Mike's app, like GBG Hoops. Like I use that. I used it today, right? And so I've used other ones where I've stuck with it and stuff. So I knew it was possible. But I took everything, my whole background, my lived experiences, my like dedication to studying this from a scientific standpoint, from data backed, research backed things, from doing the studies myself, from partnering with biomechanists and understanding the motion capture, like the changing of the angles of the joints and what that could mean, learning about biomechanics and anatomy, and I took the time to really develop what I think is going to be what anybody who wants to learn how to shoot is going to use to do so in the future. And I put it on somebody's phone at a very, very like below market price, because another part of my mission statements is people over profits. I grew up in a triple wide outside with a cul-de-sac and a hoop outside. And like if I would have had something like this, like my parents could have afforded $30 a month as to somebody to teach me how to shoot for real if I really wanted to do this. And they couldn't have afforded $50 a month. They just couldn't have. But they could have afforded 30. And so that's what I created is it's launching in 9 days. Launching in 9 days. And I think it's really gonna flip things over. Like I was scared at first, like 10 days ago, I was like, man, what if nobody buys it? Like, what if nobody likes it? What if I just spent the last 3 years of my life doing this, filming it, refilming it, resetting it up, all of that? I think that's natural in the course when you're creating something. But there's nothing. It's the only thing on the market that's anything like it. Like there's. I mean, I'd love to hear. I mean, you got to click through it earlier. I'd love to hear, your thoughts on it. But me coming from a very ambitious and a very whole place of what teaching somebody how to shoot can do for them, for their confidence. Even if it's just a dude in his 40s trying to make more shots at the rec. Like, shooting is the grand equalizer in basketball. And how can we give this to people in a way that's going to shape them to, like, believe they can go through hard things? And if they just keep going with it, that they're gonna figure it out in the end, because you only have to do it once. Mastery is T-shaped. If you can get mastery in something one time, then like you can figure it out anywhere else in your life. And so this is what the app is created for, and it's using physics, for the science of shooting, deliberate practice in the science of teaching and learning mastery, variability in reps, right, mixed with a healthy amount of blocks practice, and then the psychology of happiness tied into it too. It's everything I've ever done, all put into a plan to teach people how to become better shooters, how to understand their shot so they can improve.
Are you a big rap fan?
Yeah.
So when I hear rappers talk about their first album, it's how you're talking about your album. It's like, man, it took me. You know how they go through an interview tour and they're like, "So how long did it take you to come up with your first album?" And it's like, man, say that they're 28 years old. It took me 28 years to write this first album, and all of them kind of say the same. It is my life experiences that I've did up to this point, and I just put it all into this album.
That's
And
a really good way to
like you
put it.
said, it's a level of like relief because, I finally got it mixed and mastered. I got it to where it's about to publish. It's coming out on this day, and I'm here. And a lot of them say the same things. Like I have a level of anxiousness around it, and I get nervous. Man, it could flop. I could be, everybody from the hometown look at me crazy because I only sold 2 albums and that's all I did. But most of them say like, at the same time, I did it when most people wouldn't have done it. And you can't do this, man. You can't rap. You can't do. Everybody wants to be a rapper. Everything they did, everything they hear from the naysayers and the negativity that comes from it. But I'm here. And J. Cole said it about Forest Hills
I
Drive. He's
was
like,
just
yo,
gonna
I feel
say,
accomplished just the
J.
fact that I
Cole, like the
created this.
ending.
Like,
Are you talking about the last track where he's just like 12 minutes, like going
yeah.
up, thinking like, like we did it, man. That's real.
And that's what I'm getting from you. You like you. This is your Forest Hill Drive. It's like, man,
Oh my
I did it. I don't
God.
care
This is my
if it
Forest Hills
flops.
Drive.
I don't.
Oh, you're so right. You're so right. Man.
Yeah, you got that internal win. Like you feel successful before it releases, and you feel this because it's. I wish Forest Hill Drive was his first album because it connected a little bit deeper. But you get what I'm saying.
I do.
Like,
Yeah,
a
I
lot
got
of
you.
rappers put everything into their first album. So it's like, man, I succeeded before the release date. I succeeded before anybody purchased. If nobody purchased, you feel like you won already. And from hearing you talk about it, the stuff you posted about it so far, that's where you're coming from with this. Like, man, I did it. Like Mama said I couldn't. I'm not saying your mom said. Mom said I couldn't do it. Daddy said I couldn't do it. Everybody that I talked to business wise said app's a bad idea. I didn't have anybody believe me but me at first. And then I got the team. Then I got this. Then I got that. And the way you're talking about it, that's what reminds me of like a rapper saying, man, I've done it. So flop or no flop, 2 sales, 2 million sales. I succeeded. So that's what it feels like hearing you talk about the app.
Man, I wish I could just, resonate to you the honor I feel. But you say that for real. I'm really honored by that. I mean, I've never really likened it to like being an artist, but that's really what it is. Like it's something I created from nothing, and from lots of somethings, and putting them all in order. So wow, yes, that's a fantastic analogy, and that's exactly how I feel.
Listen, I love great analogies.
You're a big analogy guy, a BAG. It's going great.
Yeah, because like I tell you, I don't think I'm that smart, and so I try to make things as simple as possible. And I don't think that people understand me that well, so I give analogies to make it as simple as possible. So a lot of stuff is gonna either be sports or music or whatever I feel like we can connect with. So if
Smart people can't do analogies, but go off. I mean, stupid people. Stupid people can't give analogies. They're not smart people can't do analogies. So let me just, positive self-talk, sir. You're an intelligent human. But continue.
You're right. You're
Come
right.
on.
Speaking of positive and affirmative, you're right. I correct myself. I got you. But yeah, I just try to make things very simple, and that's why I love analogy.
Yeah,
So it's a lot of music based stuff, a lot of sports based
that
stuff,
was
or whatever I feel like we can connect
that
to.
was a
So
fire
if you like
analogy.
cars, I like okay, you like cars. Let me figure out something. I'm not a big car person,
I
but
don't
I'm
know
gonna
anything
figure
about
out
cars.
something in
Yeah,
the car realm that fits you. But that's what I do with my training. So
that's
oh, you
good.
like shoes? All right, cool.
Yeah, I feel that.
Whatever fits.
I feel that.
So
I like that.
yeah, so like a lot of my business ideas kind of go back to music. Like the idea I got with my podcast, I ain't speaking on it yet. But like the next idea I got with my podcast is gonna be like a music. I'll tell you off air
Yeah,
if I
yeah, yeah.
remember.
Tell
But
me.
like yeah,
Bet.
so it's kind of aligned with that. So um, this ain't about me. It's about your app. So uh, but now going through the app, you have different sections for the day, and let's break down each of those because I think it's interesting how you title it and how you're going through it. So the first one is science.
Mm.
What does that mean for the app and for the shooting?
Yeah, so each day is like a holistic learning experience. So it's not just like here's your workout. It's like I need you to understand shooting, understand your body, understand how to move before anything else, right? Um, and so it's impossible to understand all of shooting in one little video. And so I break that up into little bite-sized pieces, 90 seconds or less. Here's the thing we're working on today. On day one, it's stacking your body. And so that's, and I order the days in as best I can what can help the masses based on what I see. Because not everybody's going to need stacking their body on day one, right? Maybe they need energy transfer on day one. But, when you're serving tens of thousands of people, as I'm hoping to do with this app, I mean, you have to start somewhere. And I put the bulk of like the meat and potatoes of what most people need to adjust in their shot, I put in the first 14 days so that they're going to see something in the first 2 weeks that's going to likely have like an aha moment for them. So that's the
Mhm.
science piece of it is making sure that we get down to the level of understanding. Because let me ask you this. Can you name another movement that feels like shooting a basketball?
Hmm. Off the top of my head, no, but I feel like there is.
I feel like there's not. I feel like there's no other time in your life where you're gonna do this. Like at
Oh,
any,
it's fun. Okay, yeah, I got you.
yeah, like no other time in your life are you going to move your body in that way. And so, how do you move your body in a way that doesn't make sense? You help people make sense of it first. It's really hard
Mm,
to improve upon something that you don't understand, and so we teach them understanding first. That's the first level of science on day one. It's the first thing they see in 90 seconds or less.
mm. And that pivots to the one thing, which is the one focus for that session, right?
Correct. Correct. So that comes from deliberate practice and skill adaptation research is when you're searching for mastery and we're helping athletes adapt skills, you pick one thing at a time. And so um, that's what I assign athletes each day. So again, on day one, we're able to tie that in very smoothly to stacking your body is, okay, we've learned about the why we stack our body. And so now that's going to be our one thing today is I'm going to stack my body, ankles, hips, and shoulders as I come up so that they come up in a straight line and I'm not leaning forward or leaning backwards. I'm going to keep this stacked position through my shot in every single rep that you do today. And so not all of them are tied together in that way because after the first 14 days, like I give them sometimes a piece of psychology or a piece of basketball IQ or some other piece of science that's going to benefit them as a basketball player or as a human. But then they still have a deliberate focus inside of their shot each day.
Mm. So next after that is lab work.
Yep.
What is that?
Lab work it's like, I would say 8 to 10 exercises that they're going to do every week. Um, things like line drops, things like there's a drill called in and ups that helps athletes feel their sequence. Slow flows, having them flow through their body and shoot slowly so they can feel the flow in their shot when they speed it up. Things like boomers to help their hand speed and help the ball move at the same speed off the floor, make sure their ball and their hips are going down. So all these little like foundational pieces of shooting that they're going to learn about in all the science, they can do and execute every single one of their one things inside of these lab workouts. And so it's their time for their really thoughtful, okay, let me get, same 8 to 10 drills, but they're going to feel totally different depending on what they're focusing on that day. So now this is less like moving and getting into different types of variability in their shots. Now they're having that time, as we talked about earlier, when you're focusing on just one piece of your shot, block practice is good. And so that's where the lab work is. Those are like your warm-ups, right? 2 or 3 drills that you do to warm yourself up, get yourself oriented to feeling this one thing.
So what's the difference between lab work and workout? What's the difference between those two?
Yeah, so the workout those are like the variable practice, right? So I'll have you go into a type of shot you're going to take into a game, or a more difficult skill than anything that would be in the lab work. And we move them around every day. So like there's not one day that looks exactly the same for 120 straight workouts. And that's, the variable practice. So they might take the same type of shot because they have to make 2 reps or make 5 reps, at one spot before you move on. But even if they're making 5 reps and they're doing a movement before it or into it, if it's a jab to shoot, then adding movement into that is going to make each rep variable. So it's variability without variability. And then they move through the workout. So, and then I challenge them, by day like 25 or so, like I'm making them do hard stuff, like stuff that some of these, young people that are doing it, or maybe even some of the people, over 30s that are going to download it, like they're going to have to think through it. Like they're going to challenge themselves. But that's where, by the first 24 days, you're like, okay, I'm getting the hang of this. And now we add desirable difficulty into it, where you got to slow down a little bit, where you got to challenge yourself a little, because now it's getting a little bit fun. And I got to move my body a little bit different. It was just getting easy. And so that's how I wove, the layers of desirable difficulty into the workouts as they move through the days. They don't get access to the next workout or the next day until they complete the one before.
And before we get to the last part, like everything that you just mentioned is part of what makes it so different. Because I've bought a lot of different shooting programs, just trying to nitpick and learn from it. Like honestly, that's how I learn a lot of stuff, is buying somebody else's program,
Totally.
kind of going through it and getting a feel for certain stuff. I'm like, okay, when I'm going through this drill, this is what I feel. So if a player tells me X, Y, and Z, okay, I can kind of relate to it some and say yay or nay or this or that, whatever it is. And I think the core thing that separates it alone is that a lot of trainers will do form shooting or some type of warm up that's kind of the usual. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the usual thing of like, do this type of form shooting. And it's like, all right, cool. But you completely skip over that. And it's like, hey, this is what we're doing today. We're locking in on this specific thing here. And we're going to train this specific thing. And then from there, we're going to like rep out the opportunity to get better at this. And we're going to actually train overall and get better at this. And so that alone is what makes it different from what I've seen. And I think going back to being a graceful disruptor, some people are going to be like, hold on, where's my form shooting? Where's my reps at? And where's this and where's that? It's a little bit awkward because they're not used to the abnormalness of what you're presenting.
Yeah, and I think so the lab work like is form shooting. It's just form shooting in a way that involves their whole body instead. So it's a more whole approach to form shooting. Instead of standing in front of the basket and just like, hold the ball here and doing this over and over again. I'm going to put you on a line and make you shoot on the line, make you shoot your full shot right away, warming up your entire shot the entire time, rather than, just standing there and getting just a piece of your shot whenever you're trying to warm up your entire body. And so, so if people listening are confused, okay, I warm you up. All right, there's some warm ups. I don't just throw you into the fire. Like, we'll get your heart rate going before we, have you go off.
Yeah, and I think the most unique part of this is the last part, the act of light.
What do you think about that?
It is so overlooked by us as human beings, especially as trainers and coaches. But it's something that's so simple that if I'm a player going through that, like I don't mean this in a bad way, but going through the training session selfishly to make it about us. But then you end it as like, hey, now forget everything we just talked about. This ain't about you anymore.
Mm.
Basically, be an active lighter for somebody else, and that's the most unique part about it, to where you're kind of forcing them to be, like you say, an active light to someone else. Like a light being a light is
I lost my volume. Can you hear me? I lost I think my headphones. Oh no, they didn't die. No, they're still on. Hear me? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I wonder did your mic die? And then your video is going in and out. Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Test test. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Test test. Test test. Test test. Do you want to leave and come back in? Test test. Test. Test test. Test test. Yeah, I can still hear you. Uh-oh. Test test. Test. You think it's me? Like you're coming through really clear. Oh, now you're not coming. Can you hear me? You think it's just those headphones? Oh, shit. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you super clear. I mean, it says it's at 99%, right? Yeah, yeah. Ah. Do you think it's just your headphones? um, uh, yeah. Okay.